everybody, this is Viveka from The Nourished Caveman. For those of you who don't know me yet, I am a blogger, I am a nutritionist, a cookbook author, and I am passionate about delicious and nutritious food which is making you healthy and happy. I work with a ketogenic diet, a therapeutic ketogenic diet for health and weight loss, so my patients can feel literally 10 years younger by eating that way. So welcome to my broadcast today. Today I am answering some questions from patients and readers. Actually today we have questions that were posted on this page in a previous post from readers that would like to know a couple of things. I totally lost my train of thought. This is the beauty of live video. Sorry. All right, so the first question is from Autumn, and it's quite interesting. This is a question that could go on for a long video. Why do some people experience spotting and or heavy periods after starting keto? And this just brings me straight into one of my favorite topics, which is endocrine issues at the base of metabolic problems that are not properly addressed or detected, especially for women that start doing keto or not. A lot of times there are underlying metabolic problems, endocrine problems that lead to and damage metabolism. And the thyroid is, of course, the first direct relationship. But a lot of times we're not aware of the fact that the thyroid is just kind of the last piece of the domino effect. And usually that domino effect of the endocrine system starts with your adrenals and the high amounts of stress that you put on your body, the stress that you have in your life. Adrenals are connected to our ovaries, so there could be directly hormonal imbalances from sex hormones, or they originate in stress, and then from adrenals they go to ovaries, and once adrenals and ovaries are imbalanced, then the thyroid comes next. And what happens when the thyroid is imbalanced is that we have a really hard time to lose weight. And I'm actually kind of answering both questions from Autumn, because she also asked about what to do about weight stalls on keto. But what happens a lot of time is that we jump straight into a ketogenic diet, which is not always a therapeutic ketogenic diet. A lot of the diets out there are not therapeutic diets. They use questionable ingredients. They use a lot of dairy. Like a lot of keto diets are really heavy on the dairy. And well, guess what? One thing that I realized in my clinical practice and trying it out on my own body as well is that for a woman, especially a woman past the age of 30, with already having some hormonal issues, when you go heavy on the dairy, that will cause another chain reaction of problems. So we think that dairy, if you're not dairy sensitive, is okay for you, but it's not the case. This is not what I found in my clinical practice. Dairy contains natural hormones, and dairy is designed to grow baby cows or baby sheep or baby goats into full-grown animals. And there are certain hormones in the milk itself that are perfectly natural, but they're not quite designed for humans. So if it's a young child growing, it's one thing. But once we have a person of 30, 40, 50 years old, a female with hormonal imbalances, consuming a large amount of dairy, like in some ketogenic diets, what happens is that it will bounce off your hormones. It will imbalance your hormones. I've had quite recent experience with that, where I was writing my second cookbook, and I started sampling a lot of my recipes that contained dairy because it was for a different kind of audience, a wider audience. And after a month of eating dairy again, which I don't usually do, I definitely felt the repercussions. So one of the reasons why people can experience heavy bleeding, like after going on keto, could be that they're eating the wrong kind of keto diet. Not all keto diets are created equal. So if you are experiencing that, most likely there was an imbalance in your hormones lurking in the shadows already. And the ketogenic diet is just exacerbating that problem. So I always recommend, a diet alone cannot fix all your endocrine issues. It will help, it will definitely make progress, but you have to go to the root of the cause in order to resolve those problems. Now, the second question was, why is weight loss stalled so often? How do you break a stall? So here we're going more into metabolic issues. A lot of people that come to the keto diet that come from other diets, like the typical low-fat, restriction calorie, starvation diets, and they've been on and off diets almost all their lives, or they tried really extreme things like ACG diets. Your metabolism takes a toll. So once your metabolic pathways are compromised, your leptin resistance is established, insulin resistance is established, and there is not quite the same ability to burn energy, to burn calories for energy, be it sugar or fat. And so once you start a ketogenic diet, things can improve and you can get a jump forward, but don't forget that you're mainly losing water weight at the beginning. Once you restrict carbohydrates, you shed the water weight because carbohydrates bind water in the cells. So you get rid of your water weight and then you start working on the actual weight, and this is where your metabolic function really comes into play. So if you have an impaired metabolism, most of the time it will take months, if not years, to fix it, depending on your personal history, your dieting history, how old you are, exercise level, all these different elements. So it is something to keep in mind, and in my experience, the best thing to do about weight stalls, I wish there was a magic answer. I don't know if you guys saw the interview with LeAnn Vogel that published on my blog and on my YouTube channel. We talk about weight loss stalls, and we both kind of try to give the best possible quick fixes, solutions, and things that you can do to help it. But the real truth of the matter is that it just takes patience and work to get over this and fix your metabolism once and for all, and then be able to process calories in a different way again. For LeAnn, she said it took her 3 months of gaining weight on keto before she finally stopped gaining and started losing, and then she started dropping weight quite easily. And mind, LeAnn is quite young, so it might happen differently for different people. If you are 65 or 70 years old, it's not going to happen in the same way. So persistence and sticking with your diet, not falling off the wagon, not cheating with foods that you are sensitive to, name gluten, for example, or dairy. And, just keep at it, and right kind of exercise, and of course, the right macros. And intermittent fasting can work, or better fasting, just straight fasting for some people. So those are all tools that we mentioned in the interview with LeAnn that can help you break a weight loss stall. Now let's get to the next question. Electrolyte imbalance. What's electrolyte imbalance, and why is it so dominant in people that do the ketogenic diet? So when you start restricting carbohydrates and getting into ketosis, your body will process sodium in a different way, and it will not retain the sodium. So your body will basically flush the sodium out. That's why it's necessary to take up your sodium intake. Dr. Vogel recommends that at least 3 to 5 grams of sodium per day when starting a keto diet or maintaining ketosis. And that, for a lot of people, is quite a bit of salt. People are not used to it. So it's sometimes hard to keep up your sodium intake. Another thing that I find really important is trace minerals. Those are not, they're sometimes overlooked. So making sure you can get a lot of trace minerals from your salt if you eat the right kind of salt. Always buy an unrefined salt. It can be sea salt or it can be Himalayan salt, but an unrefined salt as close to pristine state as possible. And that will bring in different trace minerals. If you also vary the salt that you eat from different places in the world, it will have a slightly different composition of minerals, so it's going to make sure that most of your bases are covered. Your body should adapt, and within 3 to 6 months, it's going to be easier for your body to rebalance these minerals. Potassium is another important mineral, but one thing that a lot of people do not realize is that potassium metabolism is related to sodium. So without the sodium, you will flush out the potassium as well. So it's really important to have the sodium and your trace minerals, and then you will be able to assimilate and retain potassium from foods, which is the ideal source. Whole foods like cilantro and a lot of different herbs are really high in minerals. So I always like to add fresh herbs to my foods as much as possible, because that's a great way to get your minerals in a real whole food source. Now, last question is there any information on binge eating disorders and keto? I've lost weight effortlessly on keto, relapsed, and gained and tips. They're going into a bit of a different realm, which is more the, sorry, bad internet here, lost the connection, emotional level of issues, but also, definitely related to diet. I think that for any eating disorder, one of the really important things is to first anchor your eating in good, solid eating habits, and make sure that you are rid of cravings the best possible way. That means eliminating stimulants and anything, and like sugar and caffeine, anything that will give you this roller coaster experience where you need to kind of become addicted to the stimulus. It's part of it. As long as your blood sugar is as even as possible, and as long as you're not plagued by hunger and cravings, it's going to be a lot easier to manage the emotions that come with a food addiction. So for me, that is definitely the anchor, and I would definitely combine a proper diet with counseling and personal work, and work that will really take you to the root of the problem as far as past trauma or why you're trying to escape reality with food, pretty much, or comfort yourself with food. And these can be long established ingrained patterns and might not be easy to change, but like anything, any work that we do in our lives, even just changing a diet to a healthier diet, it takes patience and persistence, a good support group, and good tools. So I am definitely here. I support all my patients very closely. That's why I do the kind of work that I do, so I can support people like you who are watching. Thank you for watching, by the way, to make these changes and be successful with these changes. So I think this was all the questions. Thank you for watching. And if you have additional questions, you can always write them below the, thank you for the little hearts, those make me feel happy. Please post your questions under if you have additional questions, and I will reply to them later as I see them coming. And we'll do this again. I like these last minute questions and being able to answer them for you almost in real time, so that you can have support and be successful with your keto journey. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you.